I've seen a few videos going around lately for different classes giving their wish list for 10.0.7 or just basically like a state of the class. So in this video, I'll be giving you guys my thoughts on Havoc Demon Hunter in 10.0.5, basically the state of Havoc Demon Hunter in 10.0.5. I think the first thing we should start with is basically talk about what is Havoc in 10.0.5. Like, what is it in this current iteration? Havoc right now is a very tanky, magic-based, melee damaging dealer. What I mean by that is that we have a lot of magic-based mitigation and leech to keep us alive, and a lot of the damage we deal is magic, and we are melee, right? It makes a lot of sense there. We're very, very movement-focused. We are very mobile, and a lot of our abilities can be done from range as well. So we're very flexible in combat from where we can deal our damage. For the most part, we do need to be in melee, of course, but I-Beam has some range to it. A little bit of a give to Blade Dance, and then we also have like Throw Glaive stuff. And a lot of our damage is based on cleave, and if not cleave, then AoE. So we are cleave machines almost, right? So mobs can just kind of be brought into the meat grinder that is Havoc Demon Hunter in its current iteration. So in those like 3 to 5 target situations, as well as those 8+ situations, we actually have a lot of tools for dealing with that, dealing very high damage, and just dealing a lot of damage to mobs in that scenario. We also have a decent amount of utility in forms of like CC and stuff. We bring Chaos Brand, 5% magic debuff, very powerful. We have Blur, which is a 1 minute 20% DR. We can take an immunity. We have an AoE stun, an AoE silence, and we have a hard CC that is Imprison. So and also we can take a single target stun. So there's a lot of things that Havoc has. We have that AoE stop. We have 2 of them actually. We have single target stops. We have a ton of cleave and AoE damage. And we have that mobility in Fell Rush and just our innate speed from our mastery, Vengeful Retreat, stuff like that. But we do have some weaknesses. Our major weaknesses are physical damage. We kind of crump to physical damage. We cannot stand up against it at all. Magic damage is where we are very, very powerful dealing with. Physical, on the other hand, very, very weak to it, almost to a very detrimental degree. And then our other issue is just kind of pure single target damage. We don't do a lot of it. If you look at like Wowhead or Warcraft logs, whenever Wowhead does kind of like the rankings for classes, Havoc has very low damage to bosses. Now this is a bit of an artifact due to boss fights where there's ads. Generally you'll spec into the AoE build to deal more damage to the ads, thus leading to lower boss damage. But even so, as a class, our single target damage is pretty low. Our party damage is okay because we can Chaos Strike, but if we're just fighting one target, then generally speaking, we are not the best in the game at that. That's fine-ish, but I do think that it is a bit weak when compared to other things. So Havoc itself, very, very strong. We have lots of cleave, lots of AoE, very survivable with our leech, our magic resistance, and blur. But we do fall over to physical damage, and we are a bit lacking in that single target scenario. Also, we are very mobile, but if you're using momentum, then sometimes you don't have that mobility when you need it. Now, you do have glide still, you do have your mastery movement speed, so it's never that big of a deal, but it can leave you kind of stranded if you're not prepared for it or not ready for it. That's kind of where we're standing. That's kind of where Havoc is, a little bit of an overview, strengths, weaknesses, niches, all that kind of stuff. So with that, we'll jump in and we'll take a look at the class tree and the spec tree and kind of give my thoughts on what's weak in it, what maybe they could add to fix some of these issues, and things like that. Before we get to that, though, of course, if you enjoy the video, drop a sub. We're pushing up towards 4,000 subscribers, and it would be crazy to hit that number. Also, leave a like on the video and drop a comment as well. It really helps me out. It really helps push the video to more people. With that, enjoy the rest of the video. Here we are with the trees, and honestly, let's just dive into it and go through it. So I think, honestly, the top part of the tree, pretty good spot. There's a few things here that are pretty niche. Vengeful Bonds, I don't know if you ever even use this for PvP. Not a PvPer, you might use it. So I'm not really going to comment on that. I think everything up here is pretty fine. Nothing too wrong. The little bit of Fury here on Swallowed Anger and Disrupting Fury, I think it would be much better if it was just baked into the class how it used to be. But realistically, not that big of a deal up here. Never really going to be a make or break situation there. Everything up here is fine. Master Increases movement speed is pretty good. Turbo Blades is fine. No qualms about up here. Same with down here. Most of this is pretty good. I have a few issues on the right side though. I do think that these two are just pretty useless talents. Precise Sigils I'm running because it's sort of technically an upgrade. because if you can actually hit the target in single target, then you get 2 more seconds of your debuff, which is like sort of an upgrade, right? Like it's a DPS increase. So whatever, but these are basically also just macros, right? So I do think this would be replaced with, I don't even know, something, anything really. Throw ideas at me in comments. I can't even give you, because it has to be inconsequential, right? Like it can't be a good thing. So concentration skills, the other one, just kind of whatever. Lost in Darkness, I again, this is probably like what, like an RBG thing, I guess. Kind of dumb it's here. I don't think this is ever really, you're excited to take this. It's never really cool to take Lost in Darkness. This would be better replaced by anything else. I don't know, maybe like Consuming a Soul gives you a shield or something, anything, please. Lost in Darkness is just not a fun ability. You can go back and look through like any of the utility Azurite traits, any of the utility Legion things, even conduits really, and just put anything in here. I guess Lost in Darkness was a conduit, but like anything other than Lost in Darkness I think would be better in this spot here, right? There was this old, I think it was an Azurite trait. I think I have it on my monitor. No, I closed it. I think it was an Azurite trait where Consuming Souls shields you. That could be fun there. Although it would make this pretty powerful on the right side. But anyways, it's again, not really a big deal. Middle here, pretty fine. Soul Rending, it's nerfed, but whatever. We were really tanky. Rush Chaos is great. Illidari Knowledge is great. Will the Illidari is great. Infernal Armor, I don't think is very good at all. We don't really have high armor to begin with. I'm 415, 414 and a half. I have 3k armor. 30% of that is like nothing. 20% of that. So if we just push it, we can see it's like I got like 3% more physical damage reduction. So that's like nothing, right? So I think this maybe could be changed to, instead of increasing your armor, maybe have you take 10% less physical damage while it's up. I think that would be pretty cool. I think that would work out probably about the same for Vengeance, but be a little bit better for Havoc. Obviously, you don't want to be too strong for Vengeance because this is in the class tree. But like, I do think that this maybe giving you a physical DR instead of an armor would be good. Nothing crazy, nothing like a 40% physical DR or something, but like 10%, 5% per point, or even like 7.5, something in that range would make this go a lot better and really solve Havoc's kind of physical squishiness while also not making us too broken. So I think that would be kind of be good. Just bumping up the power here a little bit. Sigil of Misery is fine. It's kind of like, it's like a good stop, but it doesn't really, you have to cast it at a good time. It's there. I'm glad we have it. I miss Sigil of Silence. I'm not asking for that back. That would be crazy. However, I don't like Misery and Defeat because Havoc as itself does have very limited AoE stops, right? We have our AoE stun, and that's about it. And Misery and Defeat kind of wants you to use your other stop to deal damage, and it's really patty too because you can't put it on any mobs that actually matter, right? Because it doesn't affect elites, because elites can't be feared. So you're really only getting this 20% increased damage for 5 seconds on those that are not elites. So like the spiders and Shadowmoon Burial Grounds, or things that die really quickly already that don't really matter. You're doing more damage to them. So this really just exists as kind of like a pad tool. And I think that just in nature, like in essence of things, I don't think that's very good. I don't think pad tools are things that you want to have in your tree. It's kind of a bait, right? And then it kind of leads to using your stops in a situation where you don't want to use them. That's just my 2 cents on that. I know some people do like it, but I do think that Misery and Defeat is kind of trolling a bit. Really just like, it's just such a bait. I don't think it should really be here. Same with First the Illidari. There's just no scenario where you'd ever use this when compared to Demonic. Same with Aura of Pain. I don't know if Vengeance uses this off the top of my head. I haven't checked in a little bit. I don't think they do. I could be wrong there. But 6% crit strike on Anima Aura is so negligible, especially compared to the smooth generation that Fellblade gives you, especially for Havoc. Again, this is just kind of a Havoc video. I'm not really going to talk about Vengeance. So maybe, I don't know, separating these two out would be a little bit better, in my opinion. Maybe make Bouncing Glaze branch, or put them here and maybe like put Immolation Aura on one side, Fellblade on the other, and make Swallowed Anger, Disrupting Your Fury a choice now in the middle. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, but I do think that it feels kind of bad and weird to have these two here, because they don't really make a lot of sense, right? Like, Aura of Pain, yeah, it feeds into Ragefire, and I guess it feeds into that Vengeance talent that gives you Fury on crits, but Fellblade is just so much better, especially for Havoc. I don't think Vengeance uses it anymore, though. Back down here, everything else in this middle row is fine. Chaos Fragments is good for Vengeance. Unleash Power is just great, giving us more stuns. Obviously, Rush of Chaos. Misery, whatever, all good. Everything all good down here. Left side, happy with. Cliff Anguish is great. Radic Felheart is great. More movement, more momentum uptime. Internal Struggle, more damage, more speed. Darkness. Now, I actually want to talk about this. So I actually, initially, I was a little apprehensive about the Long Night versus Pitch Black, how you'd always just use Pitch Black. But since raiding, having maybe like a few Demon Hunters in my group, whatever, I've actually come around to having both here. If you need 2 Darknesses in a fight, Pitch Black is great. However, if you only need the 1 Darkness, if you only have it assigned for 1 point, then Long Night is actually very valuable. 3 extra seconds is actually a bigger deal than I originally thought when I was talking about this. This could be useful in dungeons as well as if you could find a point to shave somewhere else. So I've come around to Long Night. I think it's very valuable, actually. And I think it's actually a pretty good choice note against Pitch Black. I was very like, oh, you'd never use this. You'd always use Pitch Black. But I will admit when I'm wrong. They're both very useful in different scenarios. So I'm happy with that. Hunt, happy with this. Happy with Unnatural Malice. Relentless Pursuit, again, very bad. It wants you to use the Hunt in a situation where you normally wouldn't. Where you use it kind of to end a pack. And like you want your dot to be on them when they die, which isn't good because the dot lasts 5 seconds. And it's actually very powerful. You want it to tick its whole time. So putting this in here kind of makes you use the dot, use the Hunt when a pack's almost dead. But you have to time it right so that the mobs die while you have the dot on them, and you actually want them technically to die where they don't have too much time left on the dot remaining. And even then, it's only 12 seconds. Bad talent. It's never really going to be picked, except for like really weird scenarios, maybe like a Mage Tower thing or like single player content. Relentless Pursuit, not very good. Soul Sigils is whatever. Good for Vengeance, I guess. Demon Muzzle is just bad. 8% is nothing. 8 seconds after being inflicted by one of your sigils is 8 seconds is not very long. 8% is just minor, and coming down here just kind of sucks when there's other good stuff in the bottom of the tree. So Demon Muzzle, not very good. Give us Silence back. I know you won't, but it was so good. On the right side here, you're basically never going to take this as Havoc because of the parry. Parry is very useless for us. Extended Sigils as well, not very useful for us. We only get Sigil of Flame and Misery, and extending those isn't that big of a deal. Quicken Sigils could be good. Activating faster is great, especially if they ever buff Elysian Decree. But as it stands, I hope they don't buff Elysian Decree because we'd have to put points into Eldrazi Design to get down here. And you can take all 3 capstones, but you really neuter the top part of the tree to do so. So really, this is fine being a Vengeance side sort of thing. But Quicken Sigils is a great talent. We just can't really take use of it right now. So that's kind of it for the Clash tree. There's definitely some things I want to see changed. I don't think this going to physical DR would be better. Demon Muzzle is kind of a useless talent in the bottom here. So is Relentless Pursuit. This is such a bad capstone. Things like Quicken Sigils is really strong, but it's locked behind Eldrazi Design and Extended Sigils, which is bad. And then I think Misery and Defeat as a pad talent is just garbage as well. So I would love to see something change here. I'm not hopeful about it. They've been very hesitant to change Demon Hunter. That's why I haven't had much of those news update videos, because the only one that actually happened was the one where they slightly nerfed us and gave us some quality of life changes. But if in a perfect world, I'd love to see some of these changes actually go live, actually happen. I think it'd be a little bit better for Havoc's overall. So with that, we'll go on to the the spec tree now. We'll talk about that over there. All right, so now is the part and time that you've all been waiting for when we discuss the spec tree. So the spec tree, honestly, for Havoc, not bad. I actually think it's a pretty good tree. There's tons of options in it, but there are some bad nodes, and I do want to talk about them. First, we'll start at the top and work our way down. I don't think you're ever going to use Insatiable Hunger. We have too many buttons now where Demon's Blade is just too good. But if you want a more spammy profile, then Insatiable Hunger could make that work. I would suggest a buff to it, but I don't want it to be buffed because, again, we just have so many GCDs right now that Demon's Blades is actually just really, really good, both in terms of Fury gain and in terms of quality of life. The rotation with Havoc having to use Demon's Bite instead of Demon's Blades would just be very, very cluttered. You'd have to just be spending a lot of time using it over actually using your spenders. And you have enough Fury generation outside of it that you probably wouldn't even use it too much anyways. And when you would, it would just feel very bad. So Insatiable Hunger and Demon's Bite, I think, should just go completely, which would be, I guess, a bit of a loss to some people. It might be a bit of a hot take, those who enjoy it, but I don't think spamming a builder is ever really interesting or fun gameplay. And Havoc right now just has too many GCDs that are really just more impactful than this anyways. That Demon's Blade is just so powerful. All these notes here are fine, right? 10% Chaos Strike damage, sure. You get Souls, which gives you Fury, sure. More Fury, more Spellfire damage, whatever. All good, all strong. Furious Throws, powerful as well. And then Improved Fell Rush, it's not strong, but there is scenarios where you take it, like if you're running GT and AoE and you don't need Netherwalk, you just take it to get an extra point to unlock the bottom. It's fine for what it does, it's there. First Blood, incredibly powerful, crazy talent. Love this thing. I'm sad it doesn't reduce the cost anymore, but again, we have so much free generation, it's whatever. Critical Chaos, this talent sucks. It's just boring. It's not strong. Especially when compared to Dancing with Fate, which is just a really good damage increase. It's just like, oh, you get more Fury. Oh, okay, cool. Which is like fine, but it does suck to take it, and you do need to take it to take initiative. And Netherwalk. Now this is changing in 10.0.7, where you take this, where Improved Fell Rush is down here, so things like No Mover can take Netherwalk easier. But you know, neither here nor there. I do think Critical Chaos is kind of a poopy talent. It's kind of not fun. Something like Relentless Onslaught, I think, would be a little better up here. Maybe nerf Relentless Onslaught a little bit, put it up here. Then you have kind of like a Blade Dance thing, and you kind of have like a Chaos Strike thing. But the Chaos Strike thing is actually a little bit engaging, a little bit more strong. It's not just like, oh, you get a little bit of Fury here and there when you're already kind of swimming in it with your build anyways. So that's my 2 cents on Critical Chaos. I do think it sucks to take this. I think a lot of people actually agree with me too. I've seen some comments about it. Mortal Dance is actually really good here as well, especially for PvP, but also if you're ever in a fight where you need that Mortal Strike effect, or if you're in Sanguine. This is actually a really good take for Sanguine weeks if your tank is really bad at dealing with it. So if you're pugging, basically. Because it actually ends up reducing a lot of the healing they do, right? Half is a big thing. You're using Blade Dance roughly every 6 or 7 seconds anyways, so it'll be up fairly often. So this is really powerful if the targets are healing somehow, if that ever comes up. It's niche, but it's in a way where it's not too hard to take, and it's a pretty noticeable effect. Moving down below the first gate now. Initiative, incredibly powerful, not happy with that. Chaotic Transformation is boring, but it's good because of Restless Hunter. So while I wish this is baseline, I do think it's kind of sucks to take this passive that we've had for forever, well, not for forever, but for Shadowlands at least, and throw it in here. I do think that sucks, but like whatever. Cho Ruin strong, good stuff. I do think that Netherwalk and Fell Eruption should, they're just still hard to take because you have to drop so much throughput for them. I do think that the best solution here would be to make some of these nodes up top just baseline. So we have to spend a little bit less talent points up here. Move these up there, keep them where they are, but give us the chance to actually take them without dropping throughput. And I think everyone will be a lot happier because as it stands, you just have to drop throughput in the top tree to take them, and that kind of sucks, right? So some of these things can probably be passive, just baseline, and you give us that extra point to take it, which I think would be a big deal and go a long way in making that a little bit better. So that's my suggestion for that, making that a little bit better there. Moving below that, Looks and Kill, boring. Again, I do think this should also be baseline. It's kind of weird it isn't, but whatever. Guaranteed critical strikes on I-Beam is powerful, but it'll get worse as we go higher and higher and get more and more crit. Chaos, great. Blind Fury, yeah, it's good. They're changing it to make it so you're not rooted as long, which is my qualm with this talent. So whatever, that's taken care of. So I think this is fine. Tornadic Glaives is bad, and it doesn't make sense that it's here. Although with them moving Furious Throws down here in 10.0.7, it makes a little bit more sense with this glaive line. But this talent is just really weak, and I think it should be looked at it replaced or buffed or just changed in some way to make it actually worthwhile taking in any build. Growing Inferno strong, Burning Wound strong. Relentless Onslaught, again, can be powerful, but it's in a spot where you'd never take it in single target unless you're playing No Mover, because you have to go through bad talents to get to it. So I think Relentless Onslaught up here would be good. Furious Gaze, insane talent. Love this talent. It's been nerfed, but it's still really good. Isolate Prey is great when you need it. Tactical Retreats, great. Momentum, okay. So Momentum, I'm a big fan of Momentum. I think Momentum in this iteration is the best it's been. I think it's fun. I think it's flavorful. I think it spices up your rotation and enough to not be super disruptive, but to be fun. But I know those of you who are going to the comments right now, not screeching, but complaining about Momentum, I see where you're coming from. I understand why you might hate it. But I do think that Havoc at its core has a little bit of movement to it, even if it's just Unbound Chaos or a Tactical Retreat. But I do understand the complaints about momentum being very dominant, because it is dominant, right? You're going to use this in most scenarios. So I do think that momentum should be addressed at some point. Even if they remove it for a tier or two, they nerf it for a tier or two, or they just, keep it around and make it so it's not, I don't know, not as good. The thing, it's such a fine line, right? Like, if you enjoy momentum, then you want it to stick around. I enjoy momentum, yada, yada, yada. If you don't enjoy it, then you really want it to go. And there's not really a middle ground, right? Because talents are either good or bad. They're either taken or not taken. So to make this where it's not taken, then you annihilate the side who loves momentum. But to make this where it's always taken, then you get rid of the side that hates momentum, right? But I think the best middle ground is to A, get rid of momentum, but B, keep the rest of the movement talents. Because these are powerful talents on their own. Momentum itself is just kind of the capstone on top of that makes you Fel Rush so often, that makes you use all your stuff. So I think that a middle ground here could be getting rid of momentum, but keeping the rest of the movement so that you have that movement aspect without it being super disruptive to the rest of the rotation, right? Like, you have your Fel Rushes, your Unbound Chaoses that we had back in Shadowlands, BFA, whatever. But you can do that and then throw in the Tactical Retreat portion. And then there's some movement to us, right? We're not just standing still, we're moving around a little bit still, but we're not moving around as often, and we still have those Fel Rush charges banked. I think that's a good middle ground. I'm not saying they should do this, because I do enjoy momentum myself personally, but to kind of qualm both sides, to kind of alleviate people's complaints, that might be the best way to go. Chaos Theory's bugged, please fix it. It's still boring, but you should fix it. Restless Hunter is only good because they changed it so that meta kind of triggers it. Really high burst damage, but I still think the talent itself is pretty boring. Same with Inner Demon. Combining these together, make them work more closely to each other, would be a little bit better. It kind of sucks to waste 2 points on these. It feels like Havoc Tree just built it for us to spend points so we don't have more options, which is like, whatever. I understand why they're doing it, but, is what it is. Morag's great. Sorry, Accelerating Blade. Ragefire, wonderful. Know Your Enemy, super powerful. Glaive Tempest is great. Fel Barrage needs to be saved. It needs Jesus on an almighty level. You will never take this. It's never better than Glaive Tempest. They do the same thing, basically. And Fel Barrage is just flat out worse in every scenario. It doesn't interact with Havoc's kit at all. It goes actually counterintuitive to what you want to do, because you want to use this in your meta window, or your demonic window for the haste. But because of Shattered Destiny, which is the only reason you'd ever actually take it, because you don't come over here during left-right build, you want to spend Fury while you're in meta to extend it, and this doesn't spend Fury at all. It also doesn't reduce the cooldown of I-Beam like Glaive Tempest does. So this is bad. Not only is it bad, it's unsynergistic, and it's just really, really in a bad spot. So something needs to be done about Fel Barrage. Remove it, give us another option, buff it, return to its original place, make it interact with our kit more. Something, anything really, will make Fel Barrage better than it currently is, because this is just abysmal. You never want to take this. It's just so bad, right? It's funny, I guess, but it's just bad. Cycle Hatred, love it. I love that it interacts with Blade Dance and Glaive Tempest now instead of just Chaos Strike, so big fan there. Fart of the Flame, I've had some issues with it in the past. I just actually made a Fart of the Flame video that just came out. I've had some issues with it in the past. They're fixing a lot of them. It's looking a little janky about getting your demon to spawn, as well as the soul, but I do think Fodder is strong. It's much better than Elysian Decree in almost every form of the word. So Elysian, I think, should be buffed, or something else should be put here instead. Maybe a different cooldown. Maybe throw in Nemesis or Chaos Blade, something like that. Something to give us a little extra single target. Soul Rend, great. Essence Break, great. Shattered Destiny, great. Enemies Necessary, great. So all these bottom talents are really good. So I think one thing to add here, because this middle part is like a single target thing, right? Maybe add another capstone off of Shattered Destiny. Making a choice note between two of our past cooldowns. I think giving us either Chaos Blade or Nemesis, or a choice note between both, could go a long way into fixing our single target issues, right? Because right now, our only real single target thing is Isolated Prey and then some of the Chaos Strike stuff. Everything else is cleave, everything else is AoE based. So giving us that option to take like a more single target cooldown, don't make it replace Metamorphosis or anything like that, but give us Nemesis or give us Chaos Blades as just a choice capstone down here against the other one, or instead of like something. I think just throwing it in the bottom here and giving us the option of taking it would be a very good towards giving us more single target damage and just buffing us up a little bit on boss damage. But overall, those are my issues with the Spec tree. I know I went through talent by talent, whatever. But Havoc's in a good enough place where I don't think a lot of these changes are going to happen. I would love to see some of them happen, though. Havoc numbers are dwindling compared to previous things because of stuff like the movement, things like that. But overall, I love Havoc. Havoc's so fun. It's my main. It's my favorite class in WoW. It's been that way for a long time. So I would love to see some of these changes come through. But with that are kind of my thoughts. That's kind of the state Havoc's in. Very good at cleave, very weak at single target, very weak at physical damage. But overall, we are in a pretty good spot. You know, we can't really complain overall. So let me know what you think down below in a comment. Let me know what you personally would add. Let me know what thoughts you have about this. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Drop a sub as well. Would really help me out. Get us over 4,000. We're coming for that number. With that, I bid you all a good day. I'll see you all next time. Peace.